Welcome to the Save with Sex podcast. I am your host, Siobhan L., pleasure scholar and creative mother of the Muses Lab. Together, we journey through sex, pleasure, and the erotic as it relates to our relationships, spirit, self, and our overall human experience. I'm elated to be your guide on this adventure. So grab your tools of pleasure, ground, and let's go. We're here, and welcome to the Save with Sex podcast. I am your host, Siobhan L., and I have a guest with me. First of all, I know it's been a minute since you have heard from me, and that is okay because life be a-lifing and things happen, and sometimes we have to take breaks and we have to preserve ourselves and we need to rest. But I'm excited for the guest that we have in today, Dr. Candice Nicole. We are going to be talking about sex. Finally.
Hey.
We are finally going to be talking about sex in depth. We're going to be talking about sex in depth. Dr. Candice Nicole is an associate professor at the University of Kentucky studying sexual wellness and liberation. So excited to have you here today.
Thank you so much for having me.
Yay, round of applause. Like I have the little thing for us to do round of applause, but I don't want to touch it because, technology be doing this thing. So I'm just gonna go, yay, round of applause, round of applause. Super excited to have the conversation with you. I was so excited when you emailed me. I was like, oh my God, somebody wants to be on my podcast. I felt so famous. It's so important. And I'm just excited. I think I'm just excited to just actually finally talk about sex.
Yes, because it's so necessary because, we were talking about being elder millennials and the conversations around sex really weren't had with us. We are initiating conversations that people were not initiating for the most part.
Absolutely. Sexual health for us was just trash. Like we learned everything in real time.
Look, it's a choose your own adventure.
It really was. It really was choose your own adventure. And it led to a lot of trauma that we experienced. I was talking about there was a young individual, because I don't want to misgender them, but a young individual, Toyin, I'm just going to say Toyin, because I don't want to say their last name incorrectly, but she was killed a couple years ago.
I remember that.
Trying to look for safety in someone, and they took advantage of that. So she had already been coming out of a situation of sexual assault, and they went to someone for safety and was abused and then eventually killed. And one of the things that I talked about was, I like to call it fucking for safety. That's what I called it, but it was coerced rape, and I didn't know anything about coerced rape. That was a term that was very new to me. And when I was in college, I went to Clark Atlanta University. So
I went to Spelman. You see? We talked about this earlier.
Oh, how did we not know that we were in school at the same time? First off,
I came out in 2005.
You did. I came out 2003. We were down there at the same time.
Wow.
How did we not know this about one another?
Oh my goodness.
That's about to be another side conversation.
Okay. Because sex in the AUC was its own brand of fun.
Wow, friend. The stories. Get ready to talk about something right now. Okay. Woo. That was experimentation in itself. Sex in the AUC was experimentation in itself. But
shout out to HBCUs though.
For real.
Just say that. Yeah.
Man, first of all, the quality of education that you receive at an HBCU and just the love, the family, the culture. I'd never experienced family like that. Like I had a professor call my apartment and was like, why are you not in class?
Right?
Who does that?
Listen, it got me straight together one semester where I was trying to lose my scholarship, apparently. My professor was like, called me on my little prepaid cell phone and was like, listen, get in here and redo this paper and stop playing with me. I was like,
For real.
You right?
For real, like, I got a message saying, "I don't really know what's going on with you, but you've missed class for the last 2 weeks, and I need you to get it together because you are nearing the end of your semester, and I need you to come into my office right now. Like, you have an hour to get into
Mm,
my office right now." And I was so shook because I had
and you went, didn't you?
I did.
I
I
know.
found I scrounged up whatever money I had to get on the MARTA, and I took the bus down to campus, and I popped up in her office, and she looked at me like, "So what's up? Where you been?"
It's the love for me.
I never experienced anything like that. And people can say what they want to say about PWIs, but they're not going to treat you like that. They're not going to
Mm-mm.
care about you. They're not going to invest in you the way that they do at a HBCU. It's just not there. Like I mean, people be in class and prey on you in class. Like that's the type of environment that you're in. And that's just a different type of experience that you leave going into the regular world, knowing that you came from this close knit family.
Yeah.
There's nothing like a HBCU education. So,
I'll be
whew.
definitely trying to sprinkle the HBCU vibes into my little PWI now. And
Mhm.
some of my students, if they didn't come from an HBCU, they don't really understand. I was like, I mentor like a black mama.
Mhm.
I am
Yes.
gonna gather you if you need
Yes.
to be gathered. You know, Imma
Very
love on
quickly.
you, see if you ate and all that, but also don't play with me and I'm not one of your little friends. Like, that's the vibe you're gonna get from me. And they, if they went to predominantly white schools, they might not understand at first what I'm trying to give, but by the
Mhm.
end, they're like, "Oh, okay. I see where we're going with this.
Like, "Oh, this would oh, you actually care about me." Yes, I care about you and your education.
Thank you."
I taught at an alternative high school, and I would start the day with like some nice soft music and incense. And some of my colleagues would be like, "Wow, everybody's just sitting in your classroom." Yeah, because we setting the tone here. We got to set the tone for the day. I don't know where
Yes.
they just left at
Mm,
home. We in the hood. I'm from Patterson, so we in the hood. I don't know what these kids just left from. So they're here trying to better themselves. So let me just kind of set the tone for the day, wrangled
yes.
him a little bit. We did a little bit of meditation. We do a little bit of incense. I wasn't supposed to be burning incense in my classroom,
Right.
but I was burning some nag champa in the classroom so everybody could be calm.
Yeah.
And it did something for them. They would come in the class, I want to
Set
be
an
in class.
ambiance.
Yeah, I want to be in the class with Miss Moore so I could just start my day. Yeah, because who knows what they left? Who knows if they went home? I don't know if they went home. I don't know if they just came straight off the street and came to class. I don't know what was their life prior to them coming into like what was life for you in
That's right.
the hours coming into class. Like I don't know what that is. So at least if I could get them set for the day, who knows how the day is going to progress, but at least if I could get them on a right start mentally, they'll be in the mindset to receive information. And people don't understand the value of that. You got to be able to receive information. If you got too much noise going on
Mm,
in your head, you can't receive anything. Nothing it's just gonna be like talking to a brick wall. Literally, it's gonna
yeah.
be talking to a brick wall. Can't receive nothing. So, whew, mm-mm-mm. We gonna have this HBCU conversation after this podcast.
Okay,
But
okay.
but yeah, so on campus, I well, we always try and get off campus because it really wasn't much to do on campus. I mean, if you were involved in activities, you were involved, but outside of that, there really
Yeah.
wasn't much to do. So, one of the little cute guys come on campus with a car. Oh, you got a car? Where we going? So, you go out and it's so menial now, but Applebee's was like my favorite place to go. So like if you taking me to
I still
Applebee's,
rock with Applebee's, I ain't even gonna
I
front.
mean,
Them
I
burgers still hit, them fries still hit, and that little ice cream sundae still hit, so
I mean barbecue boneless, the little boneless
the
wings and some
riblets and
fries.
the
Man, I was living for that. So, if you taking me there or Red Lobster, like I'm excited. Yeah, I want to talk to you because you know I want to eat. Cause I want to eat this campus food.
Mm,
I want to have some like regular food, get me a little drinky drink. So of course you take me, but then I learn as years progress, there's a regular side of the menu and there's a fucking side of the menu. And if you order from the
mm.
fucking side of the menu, then that means He's expecting something.
Wow.
And that's how I went into dating when I was in college. Like, okay, I got a little bit of money on me so I could order from the fucking side of the menu, but I could pay for my own food.
Mm, mm.
But if I'm not paying for it, if nah, 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 I got it, then there's this expectation that
Wow.
because I'm ordering the expensive things off the menu or I'm on the date with you, there's an expectation that I have to have sex with you. And that was kind of like the entry to my dating experience in
Mm.
college. And I didn't realize that that's coerced rape, and there would be moments where I didn't want to, but
Yeah.
just to get a guy off me or just to get you to shut up or just whatever so I could get even so I could get home. Like I'm
Mhm.
in Lithonia somewhere and I got to get back home. So to ensure I could get home because we're talking about pre-Uber,
Yeah.
pre-Lyft. So to ensure I could get back home and not try to scrounge up $60 to pay for a cab to take me from Lithonia back to Atlanta, I might give you a little sloppy toppy, or I might ride you a little bit until you go to sleep and then hop off and try to take a quick shower. But
Mm.
that was part of my dating experience, and I talked about that when all of the viralness happened at
Yeah.
the onslaught of Toyin's death.
I
So
hate that.
that a lot of us have that sexual
Yep.
trauma that we experience, and when you come across people like us and we start talking about pleasure and being liberated in sex, if you can't push past that trauma, nothing that we say is again going to be like talking to that brick wall.
Mhm.
Nothing we say is going to hit because all is that sex looks like this,
Yeah. Mhm.
relationships look like this.
It sets an imprint.
Mhm.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And it does create, so when you were talking about, like, the noise people come in with those traumatic experiences, non-consensual, coerced sexual assault, like, that creates physiological noise, it creates cognitive noise, right? So your brain
Yes.
is, if you haven't processed it and had a good, a good way to recover from that, it
Yeah.
does create a lot of noise in your sexual experiences and prevent you from even feeling worthy of pleasure, worthy of attentiveness and care and intimacy and things that might make up good sex for you in a consensual, good way.
Yeah, because I'm thinking about a lot of my experiences. I didn't feel like I had autonomy over my body.
Mhm.
I feel like it's my body, but in order for me to just be safe, in order for me to do things like get home, I I had to utilize my body in a way
And a
that was
lot
like
of people don't
currency.
understand that. Like,
Yes.
so when we're having these conversations about consent, when we're having these conversations about, well, women equal to men now, they can just say no. They don't understand the potential violence that many of us face, you know, and it's not as easy as, well, just get me out of here, because some people who have a propensity to be perpetrators don't
Mm.
take that no
Yes.
lightly.
Yes. 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 I've had to maneuver out of a couple
Mhm.
situations. "No, I'm good. No, I'm good."
Yep.
I've had dudes lay on top of me and, like,
Mhm.
try to pin me down and just hope that I would allow their penis to slide inside me, like, kinda like on a oops type of thing.
Mhm.
There's a lot of, I'm not really gonna force myself on you, but I'm forcing myself
Mhm.
on you, and it's still an act of violence.
Yeah,
So, being able to reject someone who already has it in their mind that you are property or that
and
you
they're
owe
entitled
them.
to you.
Exactly, and that you owe them something, you already you don't even realize how much jeopardy that you're in because they already came in with that mindset. Like, you think you just going out on a date and you hanging out with somebody, but they already had it in their mind that they were going to take something from you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-mm-mm. And I think so many people have that experience, and I appreciate you sharing it and just being forthcoming, because as we talk about the full range of what sex can be,
Mhm.
if we don't admit that there have been some experiences that, for me, they're not even sex.
Yes.
That is anything that doesn't have consent as the foundation isn't a sexual experience to me. It's
That.
an experience of violence, and but Like, I think so many people don't know the difference and start
Mm.
to conflate them. Yeah.
Let's talk about that. What
Mhm.
how can someone, regardless of the age, right? Regardless of age and gender, how can someone create some type of guidelines or signposts to understand that whatever type of arrangement that they're in, whether it's a consensual sexual arrangement or a non-consensual sexual arrangement, because sometimes it goes beyond, well, this person said yes, right?
Right,
Because we
yeah. There's more than that. Mhm.
right, because we know in certain in assault in certain assault situations, people change their mind, and that's where people think there's a slippery slope. Like,
Mhm.
well, you already said yes, you're not allowed to change your mind. I am actually allowed to
At
change
any
my
point.
mind at any point, because whatever's going on in my head, something could I could have thought, yes, this was it. And you could be doing something that makes me feel uncomfortable. And now I realize this is not a safe environment for me and I don't want to do this. I'm not there because I don't know what the outcome is going to be.
And
So,
even in the context of you said yes and you consented, anyone of any gender, and then you
mhm,
find it's not pleasurable. It could even be that you're safe, but this doesn't feel good, you can stop.
yeah,
And a lot of people, feel like, well, let me just let them go ahead and no, if you want to stop at any given point, you deserve to be able to stop. And I think everybody needs to really let that message sink in. So if your partner wants to stop or your partners want to stop at any given point, they deserve the ability to say, no, I've changed my mind. I've been
that
having this conversation with my 4-year-old actually because we have
mm,
consent conversations start
love
very
that.
early on, right? And so
Mhm.
he now has the language of, well, I changed my mind. I was like, oh, I thought you wanted to do that. Well, I changed my mind. Oh, you did? Like that changing your mind is acceptable because
Yeah.
sometimes, even in parenting, kids don't have the
Mhm.
option to change their mind. It's like, well, you said you was
Yeah.
going to do this, so do it. Or you said you was going to eat this, so eat all of it. And it's like, I'm full. Or
Mhm.
I don't want to do this anymore. Is that okay? Yes, you can change your mind. Just so
Mhm.
that he recognizes that he has the ability to change his mind and so does anybody else around him.
I love that. That because I'm listening to you, I'm thinking about the autonomy that you're building with him, so that he knows what that looks like for
Yeah.
himself and can recognize it in other people. But then also boundaries, because I'm also thinking about, well, before I get into that, as you were talking about having sex with someone and it's starting to be unpleasurable, being able to stop, and I had to learn how to speak up for myself.
Yeah.
That was very challenging for me. It was hard for me because I thought since I was in the act that
Mm,
I had to
mhm,
continue. And there were often times where it wasn't pleasurable. It didn't feel good. It felt dry, like I was dry. Even
mhm.
talking about lube, right?
Yeah.
Even bringing lube into the conversation, I was dry. Oh, but you don't feel dry. Yeah, but I feel dry. Like I
Mhm.
can tell I'm dry. You may be still feeling some semblance of wetness, but it's not
It's
as
not
wet
hidden.
for me. It's
Mm-mm.
not hitting for me, and I need the lube. So, not feeling like something's wrong with me because I needed lube, or not
Yeah.
feeling like something's wrong with me because it may be feeling good for my partner, but it's not feeling good for me. So, removing the stigma that it's a me problem and
Mhm.
not the other person, and maybe it's just not a problem for any person in that moment. It's just not hitting for me, like
Yeah.
something's off and I don't know what's off, and I'm not going to play the blame game, but it's just not there for me anymore. So I think that's important too, being able to stand firm and that, and be okay with saying like, this not really hitting for me. It's not you, maybe it's me, I don't know, but in this moment, I would like to stop.
Yeah.
And standing firm in that, and I had to learn how to do that. Just over the last couple of years, like it took
Mhm.
me a very long time to be able to speak up. Also because we talked about violence, like I don't know how my partner is going to react when I say that I want to stop while I'm in the middle. Is he going to get frustrated? Are we going to go into an argument? Is this going to turn I mean, it may turn the moment sour, but is he going to be comforting to me? Is he going to be empathetic to
Mhm.
me? Is he going to show me compassion, or is he going to go off the deep end? Oh, you got me in this moment, and da, 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 what am I supposed to do? Oh, well, Here's some alternative things you can do to get
Yeah.
me off, because then now it becomes about his pleasure and my pleasure is now deprioritized.
Yeah.
So, so many different nuances with that. But when you mentioned how parents say to you, "Oh, I thought you was going to eat this. You need to eat it," and you change your mind, I'm thinking about, wow, how we try to assert boundaries at a young age, and often our parents stop us from asserting boundaries. So
Mhm.
then we get older and, well, you don't got no boundaries. Yeah, well, that kind of stems from when I said I changed my
Mm.
mind, when I want to eat this bowl of cereal and I said I was full and you forced me to eat it. Like what I felt didn't matter, or what
Yeah.
my boundaries didn't matter, or what I had to say didn't matter. But because you were my parent, I had to do what I was told. So, that evolves into
Mhm.
different things. There's a people pleasing element about myself that I learned over the last couple of weeks. I'm gonna save that. But there's a people pleasing element about myself that I learned. And I thought I healed from that, because sometimes, particularly in relationships, we think we heal from certain things and we don't recognize that it just evolves in different forms.
Mm.
And if we don't recognize that it evolves in different forms, we'll keep repeating the cycle and not recognize it and be like, dang, but I healed from that. You healed from that version of
Yeah.
it. This is like
Yeah.
version 3.0.
Yep. Yes.
So being able to recognize when things like evolve and grow is like important, particularly as it pertains to like boundaries and autonomy, and utilizing or reaching back to your inner child to connect dots
Mm,
some
mhm.
way. Because sometimes in our childhood and in our upbringing, certain occurrences or instances happen, and we either compartmentalize or we adapt
Yep.
to the adverse, and then that just kind of carries over until our adulthood, and then we become adults
And
trying
we
to have
don't even
functional.
know it's an adaptation.
Exactly. Exactly. Trying to have functional relationships, and we can't, because we've adapted to something, or shifted or pivoted into something we didn't realize that we adapted to it.
Yeah. No, these are
Mhm.
powerful points because when you think about what good sex is for me,
Mhm.
when I think about what good sex is, and I keep the definition real clean, like it's what's good for and good to the
Mhm.
people who are involved. Good
I like
for
that.
and good to the people
I
are
like
involved. So there can be
Yeah.
different components of it based on what you like, what your partner's like. Like there, it doesn't have to be the same for everybody, but those are like the baseline criteria. It's consensual and it's good for and good to you. That boundary setting piece up front, when you have strong sexual communication, can really make the difference between whether it's good sex or not. So, what do you like to do in this instance? Or what might you do if we try this and it's not working out? Like having these conversations up front with someone, a lot of us weren't taught about that. And so
Yeah.
you can gauge how a person's responding to those prompts and how you're
Mhm.
feeling in that conversation before you ever get into a sexual moment. It's like
Like
you
that.
you ever been like just scrolling through the internet and people just talking real crazy, right? Talking reckless. Like there's been a lot of recklessness around Kiki,
Mhm.
Palmer, and all of this. And
All
some of the
day.
things that people say in the comments, and you're like, huh, I wonder
Mhm.
what it would be like for a person dating you. Like,
Yes.
what kind of conversation would you have that would indicate this is the mindset you have going into it? I want to possess you. I want to control
Mhm.
you. Um I want to constrict your ability to express yourself. Like there are ways that we get to talk about these things
Mhm.
with potential partners, and a lot of us just weren't taught about what the conversation point should be. So to your point
Mm.
about like, when we go out with folks and we were in college and stuff, most of
Yeah.
us weren't having those conversations. We
We
didn't
were
even know to have them.
exactly. Exactly. I totally agree. The whole, first of all, the whole there's Kiki, then there's Tracy Ellis Ross, then
What was going on with Tracy Ellis Ross?
so she did a top, she wasn't even nude. She was topless, but she covered like her boobs and she did a selfie. And oh my God, the whole internet just was like, oh my God, you too old to be doing that. This is what old single women do, da 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 da. And someone made this point, and I
So
and I
it's like,
love.
you a mom, you can't do it. You too old, you can't do it. You look like you're a wife, you can't.
You
Okay.
can't do nothing. You have all you step into these labels, you can't do
But with
anything.
Janelle Monáe, you used to wear suits, so now you can't do it. It's
Oh
like,
my God.
okay,
Like
leave people alone. Let's.
that is the one that's like really sending me over the edge, because this Janelle Monáe for decades, because I want to say she's close, like or they. I mean, not misgender them. I want to say Janelle is close to like 20 years in the game at this
Mhm.
point. So for their entire career, they wore suits and black and white as a ode to their parents in the service industry, right? Having to wear uniforms. So as a ode, as a thank you to them, they wore suits. And then you saw them taking the black and white and just kind of zhuzhing it up a bit,
Mhm.
making it look a little sexy or whatever, showcasing. And we loved it. We're like,
Yep.
yes, yes, come on, friend, come on, cousin. Add a little splash of color,
Yep.
but it still look good, right? And now they're in this very liberated space in their life. And oh, you that's just what people do. Well, they're saying women, but
Yeah.
Janelle Monáe is not binary, but that's how the conversation is going. Oh, that's how women do. They just start showing their ass. You know what? Women, non-binary folks, femmes, whomever, we can show whatever we want because it's our bodies. Like, who are you? And why are you there? Half of us, not even half, there is a small percentage of people that will ever even have access to them.
Right.
You won't even have access to this person, and you worrying about what they doing with their body. Never
Mhm.
have. It's just the same thing with Sierra. It
Right.
oh, she got her ass out. Da 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 da. She married, and her husband like it. But why are you worried about somebody whose appearance on a talk show is more than what you make in a month with an hourly or an annual salary? Like, just for her to show her face and be like, hey, she getting more than your monthly income. Why you worrying about what rich people do?
Mm.
Focus on yourself.
But that lets you know it trickles down into their day to day. For
It does.
me, it's like, what about you makes you wanna
Mhm.
control, police, or survey somebody else's behavior? And that's the question, that's the take home question for me, and it's like, "Okay, so you don't like it. That doesn't appeal to you. That's not the thing that you would wear. Cool, bet. What is it about you that makes you feel like you got something to say about it? Like, why do you feel like you are legitimately supposed to control or constrict somebody else's behavior? And I usually think it comes down to a sense of impotence, like powerlessness. So you want to
Mhm.
exert power over people that society has told you you should have power over.
Yeah.
And it's just raggedy.
It's
It is. It's like,
It is
okay,
raggedy. It is raggedy. Someone
develop your own sense of power so that you don't have to be worried about what other people are doing with theirs.
exactly. Someone when the picture with Tracy Ellis Ross came out, someone tweeted because she has broke the mold of being a woman in her 50s, no kids. Like, she chose not to have kids. She chose, I don't think she chose not to be married, but she's just choosing to be very selective as far as her relationships are concerned. Like, she broke every mold that people said that she
Mhm.
should. And because of that, it keeps people aggravated because she refuses to fit in the box. And not
Mm.
only did she refuse to fit in the box, she's successful. Like, outside of her mother's name, she made a name for herself.
Yes,
So she
yes.
didn't rely on her mother's fame. She created her own fame. She took the opportunities that she was given and she made a name for herself. She planted a stake in the ground for herself. She's just as famous as her mother.
Mhm.
She's just as famous. She is one of the greatest actresses of our generation. Like, she's wonderful. She's a fashion icon, just like her mother was a fashion icon.
Mhm.
She's a fashion icon. Like,
Yep.
her reach is massive. Her reach is massive. And she did all that without having to conform to any societal standards. She told all the societal standards to kiss her ass, and she decided that she was going to move in this world how she wanted to move. And she empowers other people to do the same.
Yeah.
And that pisses people, it really does piss people off.
Because people feel like there's a set of rules, especially if they're the people who have followed those rules and thought it was supposed to pay off. There's a set of rules that you are supposed to follow. And if you
Mhm.
don't follow them, you don't deserve anything good.
Yep.
You don't
Yep.
deserve success. You don't deserve love. You don't deserve protection. You don't deserve care. I talk about that concept called transactional modesty, where,
Mm.
and this sometimes women, we do this to each other, where it's like, well, she out here looking like this, and that's why she don't have no husband, or
Yes,
that's why she don't have this. And then when you find out somebody out here looking like that, and they do have all the things that you desired and that you played it safe and aligned with all of these really strict standards that you don't have, people get furious
they
about
do.
that because it's like, I thought I was brokering all of these ideas of womanhood to
Yes.
earn a certain type of life, and I don't have that, but you got the nerve to have it.
How dare you?
It's like, if
How
you want to live
dare
that way, live that way. But if you only were doing it because you thought it would make you better than somebody, you got to really interrogate why you want to be better than other people.
And that's 99% of the people who follow that mindset. There's a recent TikTok about this girl. She did like a stitch on TikTok, and it was another person. They were getting ready to do like some sexy content with their boyfriend, and then she stitched and was like, how am I with my degrees and blah 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 blah, and I don't have a man and she has a man. Well,
Mm,
a lot of your response to that is probably why you don't.
mhm.
Because, like you said, if you decided to live this life thinking that you would get a return on investment for
Oof.
living this life, then yeah, you're going to be quite disappointed because you did it just to make yourself above someone. There was
Mhm.
no other reason why. So you conformed and you compartmentalized yourself, and you took away from your own autonomy because you thought if you followed this straight and narrow path that you would get straight and narrow results.
Mm.
And I mean, you getting results, it's just not the results that you thought you was going to get.
Yep. Yep.
And that, I mean, that's pick me culture too.
It
Like,
is.
that's why I do this and that, my man this, and that's why I be for my man. Yeah, yeah, your man be in my DMs too, my whole ass on Instagram. How about
Can
that?
do. I always tell people, I'm like, look, you got to live the life that you really want and let the cards fall how they fall because none of this shit is guaranteed.
At all. At all.
Nobody
It's
promised you anything and you're not entitled
mm,
to anything. So if modesty is your vibe because it's your vibe, like that's how you feel good, that's how you feel affirmed, you feel empowered in that, go for it. Like
yes,
I'm not about to police you in your modest wear. And if you feel like you want to be naked on the beach, titties free, or in your images on your social, showing your body, great. If that's what makes you feel empowered, if that's what makes you feel liberated, if that's what makes you feel good,
yes,
affirmed, I want to see it all. Like I
yes.
want women to show up. I really want all people, honestly, but speaking about women in particular and black
Mhm,
women specifically, I
mhm.
want us to be able to show up as our full selves with the
Yes.
understanding that there are things that we desire and we may or may not have access to them, but in the meantime, be you.
Yes.
In the meantime, at least don't betray yourself on the route to getting them.
Ooh, ooh, that's a word. Mm. Oh, I'm sitting with that. That's a whole word. Because I'm thinking about, well, one, I'm thinking about a friend of mine. I'm not gonna say former friend of mine, but I haven't spoken to her in some time. She said to me, we were talking about something, and she said to me, I can't lie to myself because lying
Mm,
to myself is like betrayal. So I can't say that I'm gonna do something and then not do it because then that's lying to myself and that's
mhm,
betrayal. So when you said that, don't betray yourself on what you said, don't betray yourself on the road to becoming, I don't know,
mhm.
but I'm gonna run it back.
Yeah.
And that and that That is big because I'm thinking about the amount of times that I betrayed myself.
Mhm. And
And
having
it
compassion for when
mm,
you do, because many of
yeah,
us were taught to, like, you come 2nd or 3rd or 4th,
yeah,
and so many of us were taught to betray
yeah.
ourselves to make other people feel whole and well. And
That's
nobody
that
actually ends up feeling whole and well around you.
that's
They're
that
just
people pleasing element.
mhm.
You gonna make me talk about it anyway. You gonna bring it out of me. But yeah, that's the people pleasing element. You think about, particularly when it comes to like sex, right? You want to please your partner, and you want your partner to feel good, you want your partner to have a great experience, but if it is at the expense of your own
Yeah,
pleasure,
yeah.
then that's a problem. And I did a lot of things at the expense of my own pleasure. Like, oh, well, I can't show up for you like this, so I'll do this for you. And it
Mhm,
became
mhm.
very transactional. And when sex becomes transactional, it's not pleasurable, it's not
No.
fun, it's not good sex. Like, we're not having an equally great experience,
Yeah.
because I'm betraying myself in this moment because you're not going to prioritize my pleasure,
Mhm.
because I'm giving you what you need. So you're good. You're going to just make sure you're good. You're not going to reciprocate that back to me. And if I don't demand that you reciprocate it back to me, then again, that leads to the self betrayal.
I would even go further to say, you wanna be with somebody that you don't have to demand it from, that you can invite,
Yeah.
and they wanna go on that journey, right? It's like,
Mm,
when you get to a point where you have to advocate for yourself through demand, maybe you're not in the position
mm.
to continue in that relationship. Maybe it's
I love
time to pause it, right? Because if you got a demand, and this is a typical journey of people pleasers, so I think a lot of people can probably resonate with this. You go from taking care of everybody else's needs, and then you start to
mhm.
get your voice and you go hard for yourself, right? You like,
Yeah.
you're gonna do what I want to do and all this. I like to offer a middle ground for all of us to invite someone to meet your needs. Here's
Mm,
something. One, because it's more vulnerable than demanding. People pleasing is less vulnerable than asking for what you want, and demanding is less vulnerable than asking for what
mm,
you want. And so you vacillate between the two when you got to sit in that space of, this person might not be able to offer me what I want, or this
mm,
person might not have the capacity to give me what I want. This person may not think I'm worthy of what I want. And all of those things can be really scary, but I'm going to invite them. Hey, I would like to be loved
mm,
like this. I would like to be touched like this. Would you do that for me? And that feels so much more vulnerable than, touch me
wow.
like this or you got to get out.
Mm,
Eat it and leave.
I
It's
put
that, because we try
take
to,
that off the line.
you've seen this path right before, where a person goes from people pleasy to, oh no, I'm a boss now. They gonna do what I say. I'm never gonna be hurt again. And it's like, yes, you are. You're a human being.
Mm, mm, yeah, yeah, mm, yeah, that's the wrong expectation, to think that you'll never be hurt again, because even in trying to prevent yourself from being hurt, you still get hurt
Right.
trying to prevent it.
Right.
Mm,
I remember going through that phase where I'm like, look, I don't want to get married. I don't want to take nothing from these dudes and all of this, after being in a relationship that wasn't quite so good for me. And it's
mhm,
like, you build a wall, and then you get demanding and
mm,
controlling, and you become like the people we were just talking about,
yeah,
or you try to
yeah,
force an outcome. It's like,
mm,
invite people to be with you in this journey. And if they don't want to be, that's okay. They can't continue to go.
I love that. I never thought of it that way, which is so funny because I'm working on a project and it's called an invitation to
The
it's called an
invitation.
invitation
It's the
it's called an
invitation.
invitation to pleasure. But I did not think about inviting someone on the journey with me in sex.
Mhm.
But I feel like I might have talked about this at some point. I probably lost it. So
Mhm.
shout out to you for sparking that back, because I love that. Like, how often, and especially in the midst of consent culture,
Yeah.
how often are we inviting someone to explore with
Mm.
us?
You
Because
might
when
find some things you didn't think were even possible.
Yes. because it's different when you look at sex as exploratory, and it should be. Like, sex
Mhm.
should be exploratory, it should be fun. And when you invite someone to adventure with you
Yeah.
in this sexual experience, in this sexual arrangement, if you're doing that, but when you invite someone, like you said, it even like even my body feels different when I'm talking about inviting someone to join the journey with me,
Mhm.
and then having a conversation about, I like to do this. Can you do this for me? Or can you do this with me? Can you experience this with me? And when you ask, that's really where the asking
Mhm.
you shall receive comes in, because you give that person an opportunity instead of forcing them to do something that they may not be comfortable with or may not know how to
Yes.
do. You give them the opportunity to speak up for themselves
Yeah.
and decide if that's what they want to do, or maybe they have a different way that they've done that specific thing, and they may want to introduce you to
Mhm.
something different. So now you're opening the door to experiment, because sex should be experimental as well.
Yeah, they
So
might say, "I can't do that, but I can do this. How would that work?" And it's a negotiation and not in a bad way.
yeah, and then it becomes compromise,
Mhm.
because you don't feel like you're compromising or deprioritizing yourself,
Right.
and your partner doesn't feel like they are deprioritizing themselves, or having to feel like they have to do something in order to make you feel good, which makes them not feel good. So nobody's really actually happy, and no one's really actually enjoying the act,
Yeah.
which we know now is not good sex, because everybody is not enjoying it. It's not
Mhm.
enjoyable for everyone. Mm, I like that.
Mhm. I enjoy invitation. I enjoy invitation that really feels like an invitation and not like a
Yeah.
subtle demand, right? Where
Mm,
it's like, you have clearly shown me that I can say yes or no,
yeah.
and that the consequence of my yes or no won't be abandonment or violence,
Mm,
or, like, you can feel emotion around the yes or no, like, but that you won't manipulate. It's like, there's an
yeah,
invitation here. Would you
yeah.
like to join me in this pleasure? Yeah, I
Mm,
would.
I
I would
love
like to,
it.
or I'm actually exhausted and I would not like to right now, but I
Mhm.
would like a rain check, and that it doesn't feel like you've let somebody down and they can't recover from it.
Yeah. Yeah, that resonates with me, because sometimes when I would say, "No, I'm not really in the mood," I feel I feel like I let someone down, and
Mhm,
then now I feel obligated to recover. So
mhm.
maybe I may say not today, but then I see that there's this sense of disappointment.
Yeah,
Maybe there's a little guilt tripping happening, and I don't want my partner to feel disappointed, and I don't want to feel like I'm not into them. Like, I don't want them to feel rejected. So my not today goes from a give me a minute. Just give me a
yeah.
minute to rest and relax. And then, they may initiate something, because I'm not the best initiator. But I
Mhm.
realize that I'm not the best initiator is because I've never really been safe enough to initiate.
Mhm.
So safety and being forward and being assertive, I've never actually been safe enough to do that. It's not that
Yeah.
I'm not. I've just never been safe enough to do that, because no one has ever made me feel like me being assertive was welcomed, or that I
Mm,
wouldn't be received a specific way. No one's ever made me feel like that. So I've always left the initiation in the hands, and particularly of men,
yeah.
because they've always been the assertive one, but I'm actually a little assertive, and I, would take it
Mhm.
if I felt safe, or I would initiate if I felt safe. But the idea of inviting someone feels like a softer way to
Mm,
initiate. And I like that, because for women, femmes, or whomever, if they want to initiate, but they don't have this reactive, aggressive
yeah.
personality, the invitation feels like a nice, soft, even seductive way
Mhm.
to bring someone into a sexual experience with you. And then I believe it creates a safe container,
Yeah.
a safe space to really start having conversation about, do you like this? Do you feel good when I do this? Because now we're in conversation because I've invited you into this experience. And because I've done that, now you may feel comfortable enough to engage with me
Yeah.
in that way. And I mean, that could probably lead to things like dirty talk with which people like.
Mhm.
It could lead to maybe your partner, particularly if it's a man, may feel comfortable moaning out loud because we know men don't
Mhm.
like to moan. So now
You
your
can
partner may
invite them
feel
to, right? Like, I wanna invite you to be as vocal about your pleasure as you can.
right.
You
So
alright
when
with
you
that? And then they
right.
like, "I am."
They start feeling liberated in themselves, like, "Oh, okay, she'll feel
You wanna
good
be a
when I."
vehicle of your partner's sexual liberation just like
Ah,
you want them to be for you.
I love that. I really do. Being a vehicle for your partner's sexual liberation. I like that. This is so good. This is so juicy. And
Mhm.
you know what? And I think this is helpful for me, talking about having sex in your 40s. I think
Mhm.
this is helpful for me and for anyone who's in their 40s that's trying to get back into the, because I'm not holding responsibly at this juncture.
Yeah.
I would like to hold responsibly, but I am not holding responsibly. I would like to. And I think because of that, because I don't want to feel like I have to be so aggressive,
Mm,
or
mhm.
I have to be overly assertive, this road to pleasure, this invitation to pleasure, and being a vehicle for my partner's sexual liberation in that moment, creating this. Now we're talking about me, or being in your non reactive state, right? If we're talking about divine feminine energy, right? Or
Mhm.
just taking that feminine energy, or what could be considered a feminine expression, that passiveness of invitation and collaboration and softness, that those are non-reactive
See, I was
expressions.
thinking that invitation was assertive.
It's assertive, but not in a reactive way.
Right. Because I think of aggression as reactive
Mm-hmm.
and assertion as, like, I don't know, consensual, responsive, or
It is
magnetic. It
responsive.
can be, I
Yes,
don't know, you know?
yes. Those are all, like, non-reactive qualities, though,
Okay, okay.
responsive is like it can be a non-reactive quality, because if I'm responding to you, I'm not reacting to you.
Okay.
Because if I react to you, that can be overly
Like, without
emotive.
thinking. Mhm.
Right. It can be impulsive, it can be overly emotive, it could be physical. So, a response, I believe, requires thought. It requires time to kind of sit
Yeah,
with something. So
yeah,
now there's a flow, right? Because I feel like the invitation into a sexual experience is a flow. Like, now you're creating a flow. You're opening the door for something that flows, for something that's magnetic. You're
yeah.
opening the door for this softness to come in.
Mhm.
And while people may like sex to be a little aggressive and a little, like, overly assertive, like more reactive, there may be some people who may want to have a different type of experience
Yeah.
that's a little non-reactive, that's more sensual, more sensory, more erotic even, right?
The
Where
way
we're
Okay,
talking.
so the way I capture those 2, because 'cause I'm writing about this as I write my book, do you wanna be devoured or do you wanna be savored?
Ooh, ooh,
I like to be savored, right? But I can personally be a devourer. So
yes.
but I was having this conversation with my friends, and I was like, "What was the best sexual experience you ever had?" And they were talking about what happened, and I was like, "Oh, so you like to be devoured." And so, like, even that can be an invitation, like, "How do you wanna be
Mm,
experienced? How do you wanna experience this tonight? I wanna be devoured." Bet. It's
yes.
still an invitation, but it's
It is
gonna
an
get
yes.
active.
I love that because I like to be devoured.
You like to be devoured. See, and that's the thing, like, a lot of people think, "Oh, there's something wrong with that." No, not at all. It
Mhm.
doesn't mean anything bad either
No.
way.
Immerse yourself into me, because
Mhm.
devouring is immersion. Immerse yourself. This is my
Mhm.
Scorpio moon talking. Immerse yourself into me. I want you to become one with me almost. I want you to kind of be in my web of sensory and get lost in me. I want you to get lost in me. And when you are devouring something, that's a little aggressive and you are like in it. It's almost like you dipping your hand in the honey jar and you just
Mhm.
sopping it up, right? When you savoring something, you taking your time, you recognizing all the different notes, all the
Mhm.
different textures. It's
Recognize my
sensory.
notes. Like, I want
Right.
my notes recognized.
It's sensory, right? It's sensory because you recognizing all the different layers. But when you are devouring something, you are consuming. You are
Mhm.
in a space of consummation. And I be wanting to be consumed.
Mhm. And see that okay, so I'm happy that we're talking about this because I was like, does this frame work? But I think it resonates.
It does. But I only like to be consumed in a pleasurable space. I do not
Yeah.
like to be consumed on things like social media and I'm not there from when I'm in a public space and I'm acting as a public figure, I'm not there for people's consumption.
Yeah.
Savor me then.
Yes. Keep these
Savor me then.
notes.
Keep these notes and these layers and these levels. Like you
Mhm.
need to experience that because when I'm acting as a public figure, if you don't savor me, you're gonna miss something.
Mm.
Trying to swallow me whole
Yeah.
and you might
Yeah.
choke because
Ooh.
my public, right? So my public presence is huge, right? But when I'm in an intimate setting, I don't shrink myself, but I adapt to my
Yeah.
setting
Yeah.
and make myself easy to consume because
Mm.
I want you to be able to immerse yourself in me. I want you to be able to devour me. I want you to feel gluttonous when you're with
Yes.
me. I want that.
Mhm.
I
Okay.
want you to satiate I want you to satiate the craving. I want you
Yeah.
to do that.
I
Cause
know
then you be
that's
looking
right.
cause then you be looking for me in the daytime with a flashlight.
I feel you though. Like that like and that's what I think the conversations can be. People think having sex conversations is so hard and awkward. And that sounds fun. To talk about like, okay, so do you like to be
Yeah.
devoured or savored? What? Okay.
Yeah.
Think about it. Hmm.
Mm. But
What
you
does it
know
mean
what
to
it
you?
is? You know why sex conversations feel awkward for people? Because sometimes people not that deep, right? So that's
Right.
deep to ask somebody, do you like to be devoured or savored? Because it makes them think. And a
Mhm.
lot of people when they're talking about sex, they're just talking about the surface things
Mm.
that, in that momentary stuff, like how do you like to come? I mean, I could tell you how I like to come, but
Yeah.
I can also talk about how you get me there
Mhm. Mhm.
and how you maintain
The
me.
journey.
The journey, right? So the steps to get me there. And that could lead into, do you like to be devoured or do you like to be savored?
Yeah.
And now we can talk about the journey to getting me to the O because then there's an O and then there's a O. And I want the O. So if we can't have a deep conversation about
Mm.
that, if the limitations of the conversations of sex for you are just sticking and moving, then of course it's going to be awkward
Yeah.
because your level of sex only goes so far as penetration because
Yeah.
we don't even have to get to the penetration part for you to give me that oh.
It's the sexual literacy for me.
Oof. Mm, mm.
Mm.
Put that on a shirt.
Yeah.
I'll buy that.
Yeah.
Mhm. Mm, I have in my notes, are you pleasure literate?
Oh, come on.
Mm.
That please make that a thing.
Imma make it a thing, Imma make it a thing. Imma start creating content again. I've been on
Mhm.
hiatus
No,
for a
sometimes you need to
minute.
take a break so you can get that creative erotic vibe
Yeah.
back too.
And that's important, right? Because even our creative nuances help to stimulate
Yeah.
how we interact with people in sex. So like even the conversations, making the conversations creative. So I know a lot of people have the different conversation starters on how to have conversations with sex. And I think those things are helpful.
Yeah.
Sometimes people need prompts, particularly if you're not a person who dives deep like that. Like if you would have never thought to ask someone, do you like to be devoured or do you like to be savored? You might need a prompt
Mhm, mhm.
And that's okay if you
That's
don't
alright.
necessarily think that deep, but if you want to have these in-depth conversations with people, having a prompt is there's nothing wrong with that because then it just helps you, and at some point maybe you may not need the prompt, but at least it gets the conversation started, particularly if you feel awkward having conversations with your partner or with anybody about sex.
Yeah,
Prompts are
yeah,
helpful. Mm,
that's real.
this was so juicy.
This was
I like
good.
This was
Mhm.
really good. I really like the invitation to pleasure, and I feel like those of us in our 40s who are really trying to get back into the swing of things, if we approach from that
Yeah.
perspective, I think that can make easing ourselves back into sex.
And many of us have so I don't let me know if this is a case for you. We have more discernment about who we want to make an invitation to,
Yes.
you
Yes.
know, which is such
Mhm.
a good thing about being at this big age. It's
It
like,
is, but then it
I
ain't
see
because
what I
ugh,
like and what I
I
don't
see
like.
I see what I like, but I see a lot of what I don't like, and I be like, "Man, can I just put my standards aside for a second and just get my back blown out?" But I can't because we gonna get here, and I'm gonna be like, "Mhm, I don't want you touching my vagina, no."
Right. Yeah. It's like, it's
So me and these standards, like, I tell people I'm not celibate by choice. Like, this is
yeah.
happenstance. This is happenstance and circumstance. I'm not celibate by choice. I just have these unnecessary standards for myself. Like, it's just
But
they're
are
not
they
unnecessary.
unnecessary?
They're not unnecessary. I have them because I care about my body and I care about my
Mhm.
pleasure, and I'm just not gonna let somebody's dirty son roll up in my vagina and just do whatever. If you don't got a rose crystal penis, then I don't know why we're having this conversation. Because this is not going to work. I need to know what your hygiene standards are. I need to know how you think. Like, if we can have this devour versus savor
Mhm.
conversation, that's going to tell me a lot because I already know what you think about sex. Like, if I'm talking about pleasure, or even if I talk about what I do and that makes you feel uncomfortable,
Mm.
then
It's not a good.
it's not a good we need to be in alignment, and it's just so many people who are just not in alignment. It I'm coming across more people who I'm not in alignment with as
Yeah.
opposed to people who I could be in alignment with, and I'm just like, well, I guess another year, another 365 days is
My
back.
homegirl was saying the same, like, that she didn't feel like the people were vibing the way she was vibing. She was like, so
Mm-mm.
she lives in Atlanta, and
Okay.
she was like, "These streets ain't streeting."
Mm-mm. They not.
And
They
I
not.
and I was like, "Dang, girl." She was like, "Yeah, they not though." She was like, "People just come at you weird." She was
They
like, "It's a lot
do.
of weird stuff going on."
It
Like, this
is.
people just shooting their shot is one thing, but it's like not even caring, like, not doing it with intention or invitation. It's just like,
Correct.
"Imma shoot it all out here and see what happens."
Yeah, just throwing spaghetti to the wall and seeing if it sticks.
I wonder what's happening with men right now, like, what's going on with them?
I don't
What's
know, but
leading to that?
they need to
I'm
have a board
curious.
meeting. They need to have a board meeting ASAP. Like the male collective needs to have a board meeting ASAP because there are things happening that are off and I need them to figure it out.
Yeah. I wonder what it would take for single black men to feel actually liberated, actually
Mm.
well.
Mm.
So for the ones who are already feeling quite empowered and liberated and
Yeah.
well, the ones who don't feel like they have to control anyone, who have divested from patriarchy in the ways that
Mm.
it just doesn't serve us. Like, how did you get there? I'm always curious, how did you get there?
Yeah.
Where what was on your journey that led you there? And then how do you talk to women? Like, what's your
Yeah.
approach so that we
Yeah.
know what to look for? Like
Yeah. There's a couple of threads that I saved on Twitter with like, hey guys, tell women how to shoot their shot. So save those threads so I
Mhm.
can take notes. Cause at some point I gotta be outside because I
Right.
can clearly I'm not gonna meet no
Do you
man
have to be
in the
outside?
house.
I mean, you could be online and meet him, I
Mm-mm.
guess.
Nope.
No? Okay.
I tried that. I tried that, and I actually thought of just staying on the app just to document
Mhm.
the complete and utter trash that I was experiencing, but I didn't have the bandwidth to do it, and I was like, "You
Yeah,
know what? This is gonna go left very quickly because I know how my mind works. This is gonna go left very quickly." Like, I got to a point where I I was just playing with these guys in
yeah,
conversation because it wasn't working. And maybe and it could be location. I don't know. I'm in Jersey, so it could be location because I would be the dating apps would source men in New Jersey and in
yeah.
New York. So maybe it's location. I don't know, but it's not looking good. It's not looking
Hmm.
good in these streets at all. Like I'm just gonna be outside for myself. And if they find me, they find me.
Yeah,
Imma turn my light on though. Maybe because my
yeah.
light ain't on. I'll turn
Gotta
my
turn
light
a
on.
little light on,
I'll turn my
a
light
little
on.
guidepost.
Fine. Fine. Oh, this was so good. This was so great. Oh, man. So many points, so many takeaways for myself.
Mhm.
And I hope those who are listening have takeaways as well. But this was really good. I thank you so much for connecting with me and wanting to be on podcast with me.
Thank you for
And
having me.
yeah, and this could be the beginning. I'm always down for part 2s with
Mhm.
anybody. I'm always down for a part 2, because I feel like conversations like these aren't just one note or like one and done. There's so much nuance there, particularly when we start talking about liberation and sovereignty, which
Yeah.
I'm such an advocate of like sexual sovereignty. I'm such an advocate for that and being sovereign over yourself, having autonomy and agency over yourself and your sexual experience and what pleasure looks like for you. I'm such an advocate for that. And I feel like those nuances can be like another deeper conversation of
Yeah.
what that looks like to be sexually liberated, particularly with Black women, because we all look at liberation differently.
Mhm.
And some of us that we think is sexual liberation may not be.
Right.
Um, so even kind of dispelling some myths
Yeah.
and breaking down what that really looks like. Would love to have that type of conversation. But thank you
Thank you so
for joining
much.
me. This was balls. Yay! What a way to get back into it.
Right. So can I drop this little note about my book coming
Yes.
up? Okay.
Tell the people everything, how they can find you, books, everything.
Okay, so I'm so excited, y'all, because I got my first book deal with Row House, and my book Good Sex will be coming out February 2025. So not this
Yay!
February, but 2025, because I'm in the writing phase right now. But I
Yay!
talk about a lot of the things we talked about, like what good sex is and all that it can be, and what shit gets in the way of it, and
Mhm.
how we can break through some of those things, some of the systemic things, some of the relational things, some of the individual things. So I can't wait. I will come back. I can't wait to come back and talk a little bit more about that. And otherwise, I can be found on drcandicenicole.com and on Instagram and now on Threads at Dr. Candice Nicole. So I'm trying these threads out, see what they talk about.
I'm not on Threads.
Yeah. I like it because I like actually text better than I do images.
Mm.
But, nobody has the bandwidth to do all the social media.
Yeah.
So it's just like you're going to catch me here one day and here another day as opposed to on
Mhm.
all of them and all the time?
Yeah. Same. I'm on Spill.
Mhm. How is it? I don't have
I
an
like
iPhone, so I would have went there.
Oh, man. Oh,
When
yeah.
they
I like
open it up
Spill.
though, I'll
Yeah.
rock with it.
Yeah. I like Spill so far. Spill is cool. If you've ever been on Tumblr, it has that Tumblr vibe
Okay.
to it. And I mean, I know legally they can't say it's like for Black people, but I
Yeah,
still
yeah.
think the sentiment is like it's for Black people. There are
Mhm.
other non-Black folks that are on the app, but I love that we all speak in GIF. Like
Mm.
that feels so great to me because speaking in GIF, like or GIFs, I should say. I work in marketing. GIFs. GIFs are a language. Like GIFs are language. They're response
Yes.
codes to everything. And particularly if you know like the good Black GIFs, they're just great responses to everything. And it's just such
Yes.
a testament to our culture and how we interact with one another.
Mm.
So I love Spill. So of course you have the people there that are kind of like the practitioners with the affirmations and the healers and stuff. And you got some people that are just talking just to be talking, talking to the voice, see how it goes. And then I haven't seen any trash talkers
Okay.
yet. I haven't seen, which is great. Great, great, great. I haven't seen any trash talkers yet. But it's just a mix of different people. And I've seen some good content. I've been able to kind of spill some tea or spill some content. And just learning the app has been really cool. So I
Nice.
feel like Spill is where any type of cultural nuances that you would want to say, you could drop it there and people are going to get it, whether it's just like Black culture, Black
Let me
alt
see if they gonna
culture.
have it on do they got it on the iPad? Because I don't got no
Yeah,
iPhone, but,
you
like,
could
let me
you could get
see.
it on you should be able to get it on your iPad.
Imma see. Hold on a second. You got a code, hit me up, let me know, because you know you be having a wait list. Let me see if you got a little extra code.
I got a code. You see if you got it. Mm-mm-mm-mm.
Is it Spill app what's T?
I think so. Yeah, that's it. And it's
Okay.
spill in black and white. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, does it look like this?
Yes.
Wait,
Mhm.
uh-oh, it just went away.
No, I saw
But
it.
then you saw? Okay.
Mhm.
Let me see. Let me see.
Now we gonna get Dr. Candice on spill.
Look, because that's where I wanna be.
Where the folk is. Wanna be at the cookout.
Right.
Wanna
Like,
be at
I
the
wanna
cookout.
see what we talking about out here.
That was one of my first posts. Who all here at the cookout?
Yeah, okay, email me the little code so I can be good. But thank you so much for having me. This was a great
Yes.
conversation.
Yes, you're welcome. And thank you for joining. Thank you everyone for tuning in to the Say It With Sex podcast. And until then. Thank you for tuning in to the Say It With Sex podcast, an audio experience of the Muses Lab. If you like this episode, be sure to share it with like minds. And if you're down for the get down, subscribe on your favorite podcasting app and never miss an episode.